So why do some Jamaicans have Spanish surnames? Rodriguez, Enriquez, Mendez, Morales, Alvarez, de Souza, de Costa, de la Vega, Gonzalez, Garcia are very rare Jamaican surnames but still exist today, even though Jamaica became a British colony in 1655 after around 150 years of Spanish rule. So some of the surnames come from the original Spanish period when Spain controlled Jamaica, because not everyone Spanish actually left the island when Spain lost control. Some Spanish settlers stayed behind and mixed with the population, while others returned after they finished trading. Another major source of Spanish surnames was through the Sephardic Jews, the Jewish families of Spanish and Portuguese background that fled to Jamaica to avoid persecution from the Spanish Inquisition, the Inquisition that tried to force Catholicism on the people of Spain. So a lot of Sephardic Jews settled in Jamaica under the British rule because the British allowed more religious freedom. So families with surnames like Enriquez, de Cordova, and de Costa settled and became merchants and landowners. There's also been continued migration to Jamaica from Spanish-speaking countries, for example from Cuba or Dominican Republic over the centuries. So you'll see some Jamaicans with a surname ending in "ez", meaning son of Rodriguez, son of Rodrigo, Enriquez, son of Enrique. Or you'll see Jamaicans with a surname that starts with "de", meaning of or from a location, de Costa, of the coast, de la Vega, from the meadow. So Spanish surnames continue to survive in Jamaica due to colonization, migration, trade, and the mix of communities. So even though the Spanish lost Jamaica politically, parts of its people and names remain woven into Jamaican society today. So why do some... How did the Sephardic Jews help to stimulate Jamaica's economy in the 1600s? When England captured Jamaica from Spain in 1655, Jamaica was economically poor. They wanted to grow into a rich colony, so the British needed experienced traders who could connect Jamaica to international markets. So the Sephardic Jews, who were already fleeing Spain and Portugal, arrived with something valuable: their global trade network. They were multilingual due to travel and migration. They knew how to move money, goods, and information across the ocean. The Sephardic Jews helped to turn Port Royal into one of the busiest trading ports in the whole of the Caribbean. They manufactured goods, exported cacao and sugar, and helped to arrange shipping and financial credit to the planters and traders. And historical records show that some also participated in the slave economy through plantation ownership, commerce, and finances connected to enslaved labor. So Sephardic Jews were able to succeed in Jamaica partly because Jamaica was becoming a brutal plantation colony built on African slavery. So they helped produce enormous wealth for merchants and colonial elites, while the enslaved Africans produced the labor which made the system profitable. So whilst the Sephardic Jews' contribution to Jamaica's economy was real and significant, it was deeply tied to large colonial and slave-based systems that shaped the Caribbean in the 1600s. How did the
lead pirates in the Pirates of the Caribbean, they're rabbis. There's a family called the Pallache family. They were another one of those Jewish pirate families who were very, very influential. So in Italy, they're called the Palazzo, like palace family, court Jews. Eventually, the Pallache family become the lead pirates in the Pirates of the Caribbean, and they're rabbis. People need to go get the book, Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean. Half of them go to the Southeast United States. The other half go in part to New York, but many of them go to Amsterdam first. And many of those Jewish pirates went and settled in Amsterdam and became the Dutch, what we call Dutch today. When the Dutch come and found New York, it's almost like we're saying it's like double Jewish, because the Dutch were very Jewish themselves, and very tolerant of Jews especially. But also, there were actual Jewish pirates who went straight to New York and became rich, influential leaders. Some people say, oh, the Dutch settled New York. No, it was New Amsterdam. It had nothing to do with the Jews. Who was instrumental in setting up Amsterdam.
Shalom. I'd like to say all praise is due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Alright, and I'm going to be going into some things in regards to Jews or Israelites that had a great influence in Europe and in the West, in the North America, right? Because these these Jews, all right, they set up a lot of trade networks and a lot of our people during the fall, 1492, where the Spanish Inquisition, right? A lot of our people, some of our people, they were forced to be converted to Catholicism, and that's why they're known as the Moranos. All right, but a lot of them left. A lot of them went into North Africa, into Morocco, right, in that whole region, right, because a lot of our people, they were Jews, so a lot of people went to Morocco as well, right, and as well as other Moors, or who was practicing that whole Islam, and a lot of our people, they spoke many different languages, with the whole they did a lot of trade with Ishmael, and that's why a lot of our people were very fluent and able to speak and write in Arabic as well as Hebrew, right? So this is going to be the Pallache family, or sorry, or the Pallache, all right, and many various and in prominent Sephardic Jews family from the Iberian Peninsula, who spread most through the Mediterranean after the Alhambra decree in 1492, and related sorry and related sorry and related event, right? So our people were being persecuted, right? But a lot of people was very wealthy and rich, right? Um, so the Pallache established themselves in the cities in Morocco, right? The Netherlands, Turkey, and Egypt, right? So they were merchants and they were very influential, during the Dark Ages, right? It was known as the Golden Age, right? And our people was very influential, right, in that time. It says the families included chief rabbis, founder of synagogues and Bete Midrash, right? And entrepreneurs, writers, and others. Best known are Moroccan events and brother Samuel Pallache, Joseph Pallache, at least three grand rabbis, right? So our people were rabbis, all right, and I have a lot of. I made a video years ago. I will share the link in the description if I could find it, right? But I have a book. It's called "The Portuguese Jews of Jamaica" by Mordecai Arbel, right? And that was going into um, Jews, Israelite pirates, that had a lot of influence, and they were doing a lot of you know trade, and as well as they were doing a lot. It was known as the sorry, I have a lot of notes here. Yes, the barbarian slave trade, right? And a lot of these Edomites, right? There a lot of Edomites was put into slavery, right? The men and many women, many of the Edomite women were traded, right? You could do your research too. The barbarian or the barbaria slave trade, right? All right. We get a scripture, because these are there's a lot of history. All right. Um, that's why I'm gonna bring out scripture, Jeremiah 17 and start at put it in the King James. And Jeremiah 17:4, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. And that's what happened. The Most High, he caused our people to fall, right? Because it was the time, it was our time to fall, because our people was doing a lot of wickedness, and Esau had to rise up to power, right? And you know, and basically we are under the curses, you know. Um, so our people were doing a lot of trade, in the during the Dark Ages. Here's a map. The exclusion of the Jews, right? That was going on because our people was very influential, right? And our people had a vast network, right? Going into so-called Europe and into Asia as well, right? And eventually our people coming to the West, into the Caribbean, you know, um, into as well as um, New Amsterdam, right? Which was basically um, our people, New Amsterdam now is known as New York, right? And our people had a very vast network, right, into so-called New York or New Amsterdam, you know. You know, some maybe yeah, you could do your homework about the Pallache family, right? Because I'm short for time. All right. This is a very good one too. So this is an article, "The Forgotten Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean," right? So on our graveyards, like these were basically um like the skull and crossbones, that was our people, right? That established that whole order, you know. It says a grave marked in Kingston Hunts Bay Cemetery, carved with a skull and crossbow and Hebrew letters, right? So you see, so so our people were Hebrews, right? And they wrote down, you know that they were writing Hebrew, right? And this was, in Kingston, in Jamaica, man. All right. So our people has a lot of great history, and basically, the in the beginning of the video, right? The first video that I just shared with you, brothers and sisters, that we were very our people, during the Spanish Inquisition, right? A lot of people came to the Caribbean, right? Into South America, right? Brazil, Suriname, right? And into the America, into America as well, right? Um, you know. So it says, centuries the coffins buried here were ferried across Gagwe Bay from Port Royal, what as once known as the wickedest city in the world. Right? See, Esau gonna say that, right? But our people was very rich, right? Because the our people was very wealthy, right? You know, Port Royal was like a capital, right, of wealth, right, um, in the Caribbean, right, going into South America, because our people were merchants, they were traders, right, and they had ships, right, and that's why with Johnny Depp, the Pirates of the the Caribbean, that was Israelite pirates, Jew pirates, man, right. This was once the domain of the little known Jewish pirates who once sailed the waters of Jamaica, right? Our people was very um, wealthy, you know, and they were enslaving a lot of the Edomites, like the woman, right? And also during that time, the Ottoman Empire, came up to power, right? So a lot of our people was, was into that whole Islam, or had to follow, um, that whole Islam too. But not all of our people was into that whole Islam. Our people were, Jews, or so Jews have been recognized part of the Jamaican culture life since 1655, right? And I come from a family, that were Sephardic Jews that came to the Caribbean, to Jamaica, right? And I'm 100%, sure, that I'm a so-called Sephardic Jew, Israelite, right? Um, you know. So let's continue to read. Jamaica has been recognized as part of the Jamaican culture life since 1655, when Britain took power from Spain and welcomed Jewish immigrants. Though some dates there present here to Columbus' second voyage to the Americas, right? So even before Columbus, our people, came to the Americas, right? So when Christopher Columbus came, right, um, a lot of Christopher Columbus men were Moors, or Jews, that were navigators, and that knew that you know um, that the Israelites was here in the West, North America, right? Says many were successful gold traders and sugar merchants. Some like Moses Cohen, Henriquez, a crown of a crony of Captain Henry Morgan, who once plundered the modern day equivalent of almost 1 billion from uh, a Spanish galleon, and were migrated sorry and um modding sorry like modding sorry it says were marauding buccaneers, right? So like Captain Morgan, was an actual man, right? And he was a Israelite, right? Morgan, he's a Moor, right? Thence through today, it says, through today, Jamaican Jewish population is few than 2,000. Sorry, Jewish population is few than 200. There, there are at least 21 Jewish burial grounds across the island, right? So, our people were, speaking Hebrew, and they were writing Hebrew, right? Right here in Jamaica, right? And because my mom, right, her mother, told me that my grandfather, right, he was you know, there were Jews, right, that came to Jamaica, and that they basically they were like like basically basically they would go to the synagogue and stuff, as well as a lot of these Edomites, a lot of the Edomites came as well, and was living with our people, right? And then basically, um like now, these so-called Jewish people, they're very influential now, and you know these people are in power. Like, this was pretty much it. I didn't really want to like over um I didn't really want to like go very too much deep, because a lot of history. But our people were the pirates, Israelite pirates, right? They were merchants, they were Moors, right? And yeah, let me see. I have some, you know. It says Port Royal in the Caribbean. Port Royal, located at the mouth of Kingston Harbor in Jamaica, was the wealthiest and most prosperous city in the 17th century Caribbean, um, functioning as a state-sponsored hub from buccaneers and privateers, right? So they were like privateers. They were um, pirates, right? And they would seize. They would capture um, these other ships, right? Because it was a vast network, and they were they're basically they're plunderers. You know they had like what do you call the gun there? They had like these different technology, these weapons and stuff, right? And they were very um you like they were pretty much pirates, and they were like, you could do your homework, but it's a lot of things that that these so-called our people don't know these things, right? Because our people think that, oh, we came from Africa and all these, all this stuff, right? The narrative. But a lot of people was in was in Europe and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't want to go too long, but hopefully this video is edifying. So with that, I'd like to say our praises due to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honor to pass our great millstone. Peace and blessing to the elect. I will share these links in the description. Going into the Portuguese Jews of Jamaica, and also this, the Forgotten Jewish Pirates of Jamaica. I'll share this link. All right, you could do your own homework and research, right? Because our people was in power. And also a very good book to get is known as The Golden Age of the Moor by Ivan Serdum, a very good history. He was a historian, right, from Guyana, and he was a great historian. He was he would do a lot of lectures and stuff, right? So yeah. So with that, let us celebrate duty. How Bashim Ashai, Bashim Kodash, the bond to pass a great milestone. Peace and blessings to the lecture.